I'm almost 100% sure this is going to be out of stock by the time you finish watching this video. G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, a radio that doesn't really need too much of an introduction. What this is the X-Lite from FRsky. It's designed with drone racing pilots in mind, specifically those people who like to fly with their thumbs. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to stick it on the bench, break it down, look at the text and the specs, then we're going to take it out, hand it over to Grumpy Trev, Crash Test Cal, and we'll talk about why this is a fantastic radio, you know, some of its limitations, what we do like and what we don't like. Now, I would say for anybody wanting to jump in the hobby, if you don't have a radio, you don't like the idea of some of those bigger, larger things, you know, like the X9D or the QX7, this thing is an absolute godsend. It has so many pros, but it's also not perfect. There are some definite little things you do need to know about. So that's what this video is about. It's probably going to be out of stock by the time you finish watching it, but let's stick it on the bench and we're going to go all through the X-Lite and find out everything that you need to know. So let's stick it on the bench, go through the text and the specs, and then jump out to the field and have some fun. So let's do it in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, here it is on the bench, and first things first, it is a beautiful looking radio, and some of the things I love about it straight off the bat, if you're a thumb, you know, if you've played a lot of Xbox in your past, you fly around with your thumbs, this radio feels right at home in your hand. It feels fantastic. It's very easy to reach the full motion of the sticks, and also it's going to be so easy to transport. You know, you can just throw this in your bag and then you're ready to rock and roll. Now what this is, we're going to go through a bit of an overview. We'll talk about all its physical features. We'll open it up, have a look at inside and how it all sort of goes together. We'll turn it on, look at the software, and then we'll take it out of the field, fly it around, and find out, is this going to be the right radio for you? So what we should do, let's stick it on the scales, find out how much it's going to weigh, and it's coming in at around 380 grams, so a relatively light radio, especially when you look at how heavy something like the Tyrannus or maybe the QX7 can actually get up to. This is definitely a much easier option if you're going to be transporting it around. Now when you get this, it's probably going to come set up like this, so what you're going to need to do is put little 2 screws in the back, and that's going to allow you to adjust your gimbals, but gimbal adjustment is a little bit limited, and we'll look at that when we open up the radio in just a minute. But the physical features on the outside, of course, you've got 2 Hall effect gimbals in the middle. I think they're the M12s. You've got some 3-position switches on the top, so 2 of those. 2 2-position switches on the back, no momentary switches. 2 little pots on the back right here. A spot for an external antenna. You can put a module in there, but it's not going to be the traditional modules that you're used to when you're putting in your QX7s or your Crossfires, so that is a little bit of a limitation. It takes, in terms of batteries, if I can take this off, there we go, flying these around everywhere. We've got some the 18500, so that's a pretty interesting choice. I probably would have preferred some 18650s because they're much more common, but they simply go in the bottom. You screw those together, so it is a pretty cool little ingenious way of where to keep your batteries, so screw that on. It's got a really nice sort of rubber finish to it. It does feel nice in the hand. On here, this is where we can adjust our trims and go through all our menus. Little SD card, you've got your USB port, and also your audio jack right here. So look, that was pretty quick, but that's what it's like around the outside of the radio. But here's where I want to talk about some little limitations. You know, if you are putting on the Crossfire right here, it's not going to fit at all. You're going to need to do some serious mods because it's not made for that. The gimbal adjustment is very limited, and it's going to take some getting used to because you can't adjust the sticks as much as you'd like, and also they do feel very short. If you're a pincher, it's going to be even worse, but you might want to print out something like this. I'll put the link down below. You know, if you need to, you're going to need to put this, I haven't pushed this on there fully, but you might want to have a little bit of extra height on your gimbals, so you might be 3D printing something out, especially if you're printing, or you can put something like this on there. So this is off an old DYS radio, and the reason it's so frustrating is because these gimbals right here, the thread that they've got on them isn't compatible with like the QX7 or any of the other special gimbals that we've got, so they've put a different sort of size in the middle, and that part's really frustrating because I do want my stick heights to be a little bit higher, so I'm probably going to be swapping mine out for these DYS ones right here. So I'll see if I can find a link to them. If not, I guess just have a bit of a search around, or goes for the 3D printing option. But if you like short sticks, well, you're going to be right at home because it definitely does have a very short stick. I guess if I put it that way, it's going to be a bit easier to see. So you can see definitely a big difference between this one versus that one. Now, the last thing to mention too, if you weren't going to open this up and, you know, because it's going to come without any really mode set, what you need in terms of mode 1 or mode 2, you put 2 little screws in here, and that adjusts the tension and also how, I guess, you know, if this stick returns to the middle section or not. So you can see I've taken it out of this one, and this one's going to bounce back to the center, but we're going to open it up. I did mine a little bit differently because I didn't put those screws in there, so you're going to see exactly what I did. We'll open it up, have have a look at the insides, and then we're going to turn it on and see how it goes. Alrighty, here it is with the back off. It was pretty easy. You just take off the battery covers, go around the outside, you know, sort of pry it open, the whole back comes off, and then here's what we've got. And I've got to say, it's pretty impressive with, you know, these gimbals, the quality of them, that they've been able to fit them in such a small, compact space. You can see it's a very, very clean radio. There's some things I do like about it, some things I don't like, you know, and those things would be, I don't really like how these switches are hardwired. If you want to break one or you want to do some mods on those bits, it is going to take a little bit more work rather than just a loose switch sitting in there. And then the other part, the gimbals, although they're impressive, I don't really feel like you get enough options in terms of how they feel on the sticks to customize them just with that one sort of tensioning spring, because that part goes right into this little part right here. It presses on it, that lifts it up, and that means it's going to be free to move around. So that's also how you change the modes, you know, whether you want to, you just simply screw those in. But for me, I took that spring off. I just completely unconnected it because I didn't want any of that sort of bouncing around in there. And I also feel like, you know, if you don't get it right, I couldn't actually get complete zero on here. So I had to take mine off before it would be all the way down to the bottom. It was always stuck maybe 1 or 2 notches up, no matter what I did, no matter how far I put that spring in, no matter how far I put that screw in there. So that's why mine is completely undone. The other problem with these tiny little gimbals in here is you can't really adjust the stiffness in terms of left to right, you know, as far as I know anyway, and the throw of them is also pretty short. So you're not going to get as many customizable options as you might like, and it's very important to get your sticks right on the radio as compared to some of the things like the X9D. But on the other side, it is such a small radio, it is so compact, you can't really complain. You can't have the best of both worlds. If you want a small compact radio, these gimbals are about as good as you're going to get. Now, what I do love about our hobby is how much people like to tinker with their radios, and if you did want to install Crossfire or something, because it's all in this sort of front half, I do think you could print out your own back shell if people sort of, you know, are skilled enough to design something, and that could also enable you to put some bigger batteries in here. So instead of the 18500s, you might be able to put in some 18650s and just print some longer end caps or something like that. So I do feel like because it's all in this front section, it is going to be easy for people to, well, maybe not easy, but there is the potential to upgrade and sort of turn this into an even better radio. That's the physical parts of the radio. What we should do, let's put some batteries in, turn it on, have a look at the menu, and then go out and have a fly. Alrighty, so the radio is all back together. Let's turn it on, hold this button down for a few seconds, and then I'm going to zoom in, maybe turn the lights out so you can see the screen a little bit better. So here it is. Let's see, is that going to be too bright? I'm just going to have to sort of keep it still. Here's where you can adjust your different trims, and it's going to take a little bit to get used to, but once you're in the menu, I do feel like it's very, very easy. You've got this button is sort of your joystick. You can go up, down, left, right, but you can also click it, and then it's very easy to go through and change, you know, all your sort of settings. OpenTX sort of standard stuff, so some people are going to be able to write some really, really cool scripts in here, but if you've used a Tyrannus in the past, you're going to be more than at home, and I do find it much, much quicker to be able to go through all the menus, do everything that you need to do with this little sort of joystick controller right here. Much easier than some of the other options that we've got. Now look, there's not really too much I can say about the software because we've all seen OpenTX before. I guess in terms of doing a trim, it is going to take a little bit because you don't have some of those little bits under there, but it can all be done with this sort of, I don't know what you're going to call that, this D-pad button right here, and yeah, it's pretty simple. But I kind of like that it doesn't have too many switches, too many buttons, because it's a simple radio for people who just want to do some things like drone racing. You don't really need too many things beside an arm switch, a mode switch, a buzzer, and a turtle mode. I can't really think of too many other things. Maybe an RSSI, but even then, most of that stuff is going to be coming through on the OSD. But that's it. That's the boring stuff on the bench. Let's jump out to the field, have some fun, fly it around, and find out how this radio goes with myself, Grumpy Trev, and Crash Test Cal, and find out, is this going to be the right radio for you? So let's do that. Have some fun in 3, 2, 1. Boop. Radio out here in the field, a little bit different. We're about to test out the X-Lite. Trevor's already had a go. I've just filmed Cal, and now it's going to be my turn. But I'm pretty pumped, so we're going to see how I go with my impressions, and then I'm going to show you what Trev said and what Cal said. So give me this radio, Cal. Finally, it's my turn. Let's do it. Are you ready, Trevor? I'm pretty excited because you two have both talked a lot about it. All right, just take it for a quick little spin. And straight away, I gotta say, it does feel very comfortable in your hands. I don't think it's gonna take very long to get used to whatsoever. It does feel different though for me than my QX7. And I think that I just need to work on the sticks a little bit, some of the adjustments, because I had my QX7 set up just how I like it. It does feel a little bit softer on the sticks, I think, but that's definitely not a bad thing. That's just something that I'm gonna have to get used to. Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're coming into this hobby, you don't have a radio whatsoever, and you've played a lot of Xbox or PlayStation and video games with the controller, you're gonna feel right at home with this thing. It feels much more comfortable than say some of those QX7s or the special edition Tyrannuses. And I really did like the Evolution, and anyone who's watched my channel for a long time, you would have saw that I flew the Evolution for about a year, but I was getting some range issues in the end. But with this one, you know, it's got open TX. This is exactly what I've been after. It's got open TX. It fits a thumber's hand very, very well. You feel very at home, and it's made by FRsky, which I think make the best radios on the market. There is a bit of a price difference though between this and the QX7. The QX7 is amazing value if you can just get that budget one. But if you want to pay a little bit extra, and I definitely think that there is a huge argument to be made to say that, well, this is worth it just as much to get this form factor. This is how radios should be. This is how they should have been coming out years ago, and finally we've got something from a top manufacturer that is just performing like it should. Whoop. We're going to have to do some range tests and those sorts of things, but if it performs like a FRsky radio should, then I definitely think we're going to be on to a winner. I tell you what, even just this first pack, it doesn't take that long to get used to whatsoever. I could fly with this thing all day. It's not heavy either. I guess there's no neck strap or anything, but you don't need to worry about that.
Is it big enough for you?
I think the size, are we talking about the radio? But no, I really love the form factor, and you know, when I go for a skate with Cal, we throw some stuff in our backpack. The QX7 does take up a large part of my bag space, and this, it's just such a space saver. Does everything I want. You don't have that antenna that you have to worry about breaking and be a bit protective of. And if you do want to go long range, you can add an extra antenna or add that extra module.
Well, Cal and myself were talking before, we thought you'd really like it because you're used to having small things in your hand.
Get out. All right, I'm going to bring it in anyway. But I absolutely love it. So definitely my main radio.
You can stick a Grumpy Trev voice pack on it.
Yeah, you could. Alrighty, Trev, flying around with the X-Lite, what's it like?
It feels like a Tyrannus. It does. It just, honestly, the transition is zilch for me. It just feels so friggin' good.
Because usually radios feel quite weird when you switch over. So do you reckon you could fly with this straight off the bat?
Oh, what do you think I'm doing now? This is great. This is hot. Oh, I tell you, I like it. Really do like it. Can't wait to get mine. Yeah, we really like the Evolution. This is, it actually feels smoother than that. Normally, when you're flying these, you know, and you receive a transmitter, it takes a little while to get used to it. But this is so good. I feel as if I could do whatever I wanted with this.
What, straight away already?
Yeah, look, it just feels so good. I suppose the Hall gimbals make it so accurate because that's what I've been flying with.
Do you prefer this over your special edition Tyrannus? If you could pick one to fly with?
This would be it.
Already?
Yeah, absolutely. I always said when they brought this out, I was looking forward to it. And this is my first opportunity to have a go at it. And I love it already. And it's just feels so good in your hands. I'm talking about the transmitter.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's really a part of it. And it's not big and bulky like the other transmitters we use. Oh look, I do really like this.
Do you think it's made for thumb pilots or pinching pilots?
Well, probably more for thumbs. I think the sticks have to be just a little bit longer. I reckon you'd pinch okay with it. Because I can fly both, but I prefer thumbs. The only criticism I would have is the gimbals need to be, the sticks need to be a little bit more spiky, you know, on the end of the little thumb things you stick your thumb on. I'd like a little bit more grip because that's what I'm used to. But look, having said that, I'm flying it okay, but that's just my personal preference. That this, honestly, it's great.
Is this the best? Okay, here's the big one. Is this the best radio you've ever flown?
Yeah, to date, absolutely. No ifs or buts.
All right, so what's the Grumpy Trev, I guess, on our first impressions, because look, we're going to test it a lot more, but on these first impressions, what would you give it out of 10?
Well, at the moment, I'll give it 10.
Okay.
Absolutely a 10.
And what about value for money wise? Because it's around the $200 mark though, so it is a little bit more expensive than say the QX7.
Yeah, look, it's hard to say until, I'm going to come in.
Yep.
It's hard to say until I'm
going to disarm for you. Yep.
We're flown a bit more, but look, I don't think it's overpriced for what it is. You know, it takes a module as well, which, you know, they've got that technology built in, so probably an 8 for value for money.
Okay.
But it's really, really nice to fly, guys.
All right.
I fucking love it.
Now, what would you say for anyone looking at the Evolution versus this? Which one?
Oh no, I get this.
Okay.
Yeah, the Evolution, look, that was okay, but you know, we did have range issues with that. But you know, we yet to test this, but it is FRsky, so I can't see the range being an issue with this.
All right.
But you know, we'll have more tests down the track with it, I guess.
I'll do some more videos. I'll do a bit of a playlist. But
Yeah.
what do you think Cal's going to say? Because he's a pinching pilot.
I reckon Cal will like this.
Nice. Let's find out.
Ability.
I reckon they'll make some though.
Yeah.
I'd like them a bit pointier.
Yeah.
To me, what did you feel with yours?
I haven't flown it yet, mate. You flew it before
Oh,
me.
you've had a play though.
Yeah, I've had a little play, but yeah, I reckon some stick adjustment would be handy.
Look, that's part of your body, mate. It's just, yeah, that's brilliant.
It's almost like an Apple product, you know. It's so well refined.
What do you mean by that?
It's just the finish on it. It's got a bit of weight to it. It's not plasticky and cheap. It's just really well finished. These gimbals feel fantastic. It's just, yeah.
All right. Anyway, Cal. So I guess first impressions. What radio do you currently fly?
The Tyrannus, is it the X9 Plus?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that big and bulky one. How does this feel? I guess weight-wise compared to that.
Well, it's a little bit lighter, but it's definitely well constructed. You can feel that it's a quality product. It's not light like the Turnigy Evolution. It's not just a shell with a few components inside. It's just, it feels really, really good quality.
How's it feel in your hands?
Fantastic.
What about the shape of it? I guess that's something, because it's a very different shape than what you're used to.
Yeah, look, I'm a pincher, but I think I could actually get used to these. And it'd be nice if the sticks could be a little higher, but I noticed that these are, what would you call these things?
I don't know, stick ends.
These stick ends, they're not variable in terms of how much you can put them in and out. So that's a bit of a pain, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of customization. I'm sure you'll be able to get aftermarket stuff for these pretty soon, because this is going to be a very popular product, I'm sure.
Did you like that? You had a Turnigy Evolution for a while. Did you like that?
Not really.
Okay, why not? What was your main complaint there?
Oh, I didn't like the receivers, for one. You were limited with these receivers. The range was not as good as the FRsky, and just the form factor wasn't really good for me because I'm a pincher.
Okay, but do you feel like those might be solved with this one?
Look, this feels good in the hand, but what I would have to do is put some kind of grip tape down on these corners here, and then I would be okay. I'd have no problem using these, actually. It'd be, yeah.
All right, ready to take it up, rip it around?
Let's give it a go. Okay, just... Look, it feels pretty good. The form factor, it's obviously not, it's made for thumbers. Let's just be honest about that. This really is a thumbers radio, but as a pincher, I'm finding that it's quite manageable. I wish the sticks were a little bit longer, but I'm sure there's going to be some custom parts coming out very soon for this, which will allow that. So look, this might be something I'll be interested in the future as soon as those custom sticks come out for it, because this feels great. It really does. I love how small it is, and you've got no pesky antenna to worry about, which is fantastic.
You can add an antenna if you do want to.
Really? So if you wanted to do a bit more long range stuff, you can do that. Wow, that's great. This has been long anticipated, this radio, and I don't think it's let us down. I think it's pretty fantastic. So way to go, FRsky.
Do you have any criticisms?
Look, I wish they had made the sticks a little more adjustable, but other than that, like I said, I think you'll be able to get thumb pieces which compensate for that. But that's the only thing, you know. As it stands today, I'm not sure I would use this over my Tyrannus if I was in a race, but
why is that?
Because the sticks are just a little bit too short for me, just a little bit. If they were just, you know, maybe 10 mil longer, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable with that. But like I said, you know, as soon as someone brings some custom thumb ends out for this radio, I think it's going to be a winner. Look, the form factor is fantastic. The fact that it's so small, you can just toss it into a little backpack, especially if you've got a tiny little backpack with a 3-inch rig in it or something like that. It's a perfect companion, for sure.
I guess sum it up, what's Cal's famous 4 words about the FRsky X-Lite?
You won't be disappointed. It's everything they said it would be, and I think it's going to be more. Especially as soon as people bring out a few different parts to support it. I think they're onto a winner for sure.
Nice. Thanks, Cal.
No worries.
Now I can actually have a fly of it, because Trevor's had a go, you've had a go, I haven't had a go yet.
I don't think you should, Cal,
Oh.
you.
For a natural thumber like you, I don't think you'll be able to find any fault with it. I think you're going to love it 100%.
All right. Right, so there it is. There's my review with a FRsky X-Lite, and overall I feel like this is the best choice at the moment for a thumb flying pilot like myself. I don't really use crossfire in 99% of my rigs, so most of the time I'm more than happy with this. It does have its limitations, you know, it doesn't have as many switches that most, you know, some people might want, but I'm more than happy. I don't need any more switches than this. I need like an arm switch and then maybe a mode switch and a buzzer, and then if you want one more, I guess you could use turtle mode, but other than that, I don't really need any others. I find the menu very easy to use. It's very cool. It runs OpenTX, but probably, and it's perfect for thumbers. Like the way it fits in your hand, it feels great. It's really high quality, but probably the one thing it is going to take a little bit for people to get used to is the gimbal size. So they feel a little bit smaller. They're very, very short, and I feel like it's more sensitive. So definitely tone down your rates. Put a little bit of deadband around the center of the sticks, because look, honestly, it's going to take a bit to get used to. If you come from something like the QX7 and you're jumping over to this, it does feel different. I don't think in a bad way, it's just something that you're not used to. So you're going to sort of have to relearn how your radio feels in your hand, but it's very, very smooth, and overall, I think this is sort of what our hobby needs. A smaller radio that feels great in the hand and has everything for a drone racing pilot, and especially if you're a thumber. Anyway, what do you guys think? Drop your comments down below. I'm pretty sure this thing is going to be sold out anyway, because I know it's going to be very popular. It really, there was a need for this sort of radio. I love the original Turnigy Evolution. I love the shape, but I did prefer the FRsky Link, you know, back in the day, because I feel like the Turnigy Evolution sort of, it just wasn't keeping up with what FRsky was doing. So it's great. FRsky come up with their own thumb version. I'm a big fan, and yeah, I'm going to continue using this thing and see how it goes. So, what do you guys think? Enough rambling from me. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying!